A programme change at 1:10 tomorrow. Jonathan Dimbleby interviews the Prime Minister. Now today's political happenings and sport.
Good evening, the news and sport from ITN. Tonight's headlines. John Major comes out fighting at the start of his re-election campaign. The arrest of a lone gunman after a record 14-day siege.
And the Saturday night sports headline, another new chapter in South African history as the Springboks win the Rugby World Cup.
The Prime Minister launched his campaign to retain the Tory leadership today with a fighting speech to constituency party chairmen. He laid out new policy initiatives and called on the party to collectively come to their senses. The man tipped to challenge him, Lord Lamont, is saying nothing.
Mr Major arrived at a meeting of Conservative constituency chairmen to make an impassioned speech for their support, and he wasn't to be disappointed by the reception he got. He told them that divisions within the party were overshadowing the real issues and could loosen the next election.
What I'm angry about is that a tide of trivia, of rumour, of insubstantial stories and of froth have been drowning out those real political issues for far too long.
He pleased right-wingers by announcing a new voucher scheme for nursery schools. And after the cameras were told to leave, he used the term Eurocrap to describe some of the current debate. Tory officials later said he was referring to the idea of all EU states joining a single currency in 1999. But one of the chairmen who heard him still thought he had to go.
I have a lot of contact with the membership at large. We've lost a lot of members. People are feeling very betrayed and let down, and I think now's the time probably for a clean sweep.
One cabinet right-winger, John Redwood, here in his constituency, has generated more speculation by saying he'll make a statement on the leadership on Monday. Euro rebels hope he'll announce he's opposing Mr Major. So far, he hasn't ruled that out. Norman Lamont, the favourite as challenger, was also keeping everyone guessing. Constant media attention, though, was getting to his wife.
Bloody stupid lot of people.
The right wing believe a political heavyweight like Mr Lamont would be more likely to inflict fatal damage on the Prime Minister than a stalking horse. Major loyalists, though, were getting their retaliation in first.
Well, I think it's very sad if he is considering it seriously, because it's completely against the mood that I'm hearing from our party activists.
Well, it's symptomatic of a man who appears to be bitter, and bitterness does distort judgments very severely.
Mr Major took time off for the test match, knowing most party officials have backed him. The question is, will the MPs when it comes to a secret ballot?
Police in Hull are questioning a man after the end of a record 14-day siege. For some of that time, Stephen Wood held 2 women hostage, but they were released before he surrendered.
It was the moment the police had waited patiently to see. Shortly before 5 this morning, Wood emerged from the house unarmed and without a struggle. Yesterday evening, Wood made one of his rare appearances, but the police maintained their standoff, not wanting to risk the siege ending in bloodshed. After 14 days of waiting, they weren't going to be provoked, even when Wood was seen brandishing a pistol. Police say their tactics were right.
It was a negotiated resolution, which I always believed was the likely outcome. I never doubted that we could deliver what we said we could deliver.
And now Humberside police are having to count the cost of the operation. It's thought the final bill could be around £150,000. Richard Cook, ITN, Humberside.
Human rights campaigners protested across Britain today against what they claim is the government's illegal detention of refugees. Activists who demonstrated in 8 cities say genuine refugees are being treated like criminals.
The protesters claim hundreds of genuine refugees are being treated like criminals. Inside Campsfield House near Oxford, there are 200 detainees. Their friends say they should be free.
We are here only because of the repression.
Nationally, 600 are being held, a fraction of the 33,000 applying for refugee status last year. But the demonstrators say it's still too many.
These people held in Campsfield have not committed any crime. They've not been convicted of anything.
There were demonstrations in 8 cities. In Birmingham, they held a birthday party for the daughter of a detainee, 11 today.
The government, in my view, breaches international law. Compared to criminal remand prisoners, asylum seekers face detention for 3 times as long without having committed any criminal offence whatsoever.
The Home Office said tonight the government takes very seriously its obligations under international law. Genuine refugees are always allowed in. Detention is only used sparingly. But the organisers are now planning more demonstrations.
Thousands of Palestinians clashed with Israeli troops in the occupied West Bank today during widespread protests in support of Palestinian prisoners on hunger strike. At least a dozen people were wounded in the violence. The protests are the latest in a week of action. It's America's 100th space mission and one of its most historic. Within the hour, the space shuttle Atlantis should blast off, heading for a rendezvous with Russia's Mir space station. It'll be the first time the two countries have linked up in space since 1975.
Again, the primary concern is the weather.
Thunderstorms are looming, but the pressure is on to launch the space shuttle Atlantis.
We are working a minor problem with...
There is just one 10-minute opportunity today to launch the crew of 7 on the most important international space mission in 20 years. They will dock with the Russian space station Mir and bring back to Earth an American astronaut and 2 Russians who've been there for 3 months. An American shuttle with Britain Michael Foale on board came within 40 feet of Mir this year. This week's docking will be the first of 7, as the US and Russia prepare to build an international space station. This launch was delayed by thunder and lightning. Earlier this month, woodpeckers stopped a shuttle by punching holes in its external fuel tank. This mission's main problems, though, should be merely technical, bringing 2 huge spacecraft together as they travel at 17,000 miles an hour. Bill Neely, ITN in the United States.
Now, today's sport, and with the details, here's Graham Miller.
South Africa is united in celebration tonight after an historic victory over the mighty All Blacks in the Rugby World Cup final. New Zealand were beaten by a dramatic injury-time drop goal. Nelson Mandela told the Springboks, "Thank you for what you've done for South Africa."
The greatest day for South African rugby, the greatest day for South African sport. A new nation celebrating the focus of world attention. The president unashamedly wearing the Springbok jersey he once detested during his years of incarceration. The stage set for a spectacular showpiece, the ultimate challenge facing both teams. Mertens and Stransky exchanged penalties, and then the first sight of the charging Lomu, the man who until today had burst through all before him. Then the moment that could have thrown the final into controversy. Referee Ed Morrison unsighted and unsure. The South Africans pressing the All Blacks like no other side had managed, rewarded with this Stransky strike. Each time Lomu broke free, they hunted him down in packs, this time Mulder with the crucial hit. New Zealand's cover proved just as effective as, with the scores level, full-time edged closer.
The teams could still not be separated after 80 minutes, and amid unbearable tension at Ellis Park, the game went into extra time.
And it was Stransky again with the decisive kick, an historic end to an historic tournament. Few could have dreamt the drama would end this way. South Africa on top of the world. The significance of this victory was not lost on the captain. It went far beyond the support from the capacity crowd at Ellis Park.
We didn't have 60,000 South Africans. We had 43 million South Africans.
Tonight, at last, something for all South Africans to celebrate together. Black and white side by side along the streets. As this country absorbs a new national pride, a new self-esteem. Steve Scott, ITN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Here, the second Test match could go either way after a day of mixed fortunes for England's batsmen at Lord's. England lead the West Indies by 114, thanks mainly to 67 from Graham Hick. But Graham Thorpe's in hospital with concussion after being hit on the head by a beamer.
It started well for England, with Darren Gough trapping debutant Otis Gibson LBW. But led by an inspired performance from Keith Arthurton, the West Indies soon rallied. He was finally caught spectacularly by Gough for 75. In reply, England's second innings began in bizarre fashion with this from Curtly Ambrose. Opening batsmen Mike Atherton and Alex Stewart began scoring briskly, but both then fell to almost identical deliveries from Courtney Walsh. Graham Thorpe arrived for just one ball. It's unlikely he even saw this unintentional beamer from Walsh, retiring hurt, tonight staying in hospital suffering from concussion. After tea, Robin Smith and Graham Hick in particular took the fight to the West Indies. But Hick fell late on, and this test remains finely balanced.
Linford Christie raced to a 6th successive European Cup victory in Lille and then said he hadn't reconsidered his decision to retire before next year's Olympics. Christie, the Olympic champion, travelled to France this morning, the day after his mother's funeral, to captain the men's team. He led by example, winning the 100 metres title to register his 8th individual European Cup victory.
Finally, the winning numbers in this week's National Lottery are 5, 15, 21, 42, 43 and 45. The bonus number is 20. The jackpot is £8.6 million and the total prize fund almost £30 million. That's the news tonight from Graham and me and the ITN Weekend team. Good night.
Good night.
Hello, good evening. Well, we've a lot of cloud around at the moment and even some patchy drizzle, mainly affecting the eastern side of the country. Now, here's the reason why. Our Met Office wind flow chart shows high pressure there sat over northern Scotland and in turn feeding in this cloud to affect the eastern fringes of the country, not quite making it out to the west. So once again, the west comes off better. On to the actual detail for our Sunday morning now, and a fairly grey and grisly start to the day. A lot of cloud around, even some drizzle in the very far north of Scotland there. But then slowly but surely, during the course of the morning, things get brighter and it ought to settle into a fairly pleasant day all in all. Certainly brighter for southern as well as central areas, brighter than we saw today. Once again, we've got that hiccup in the form of cloud spilling down the eastern fringes of the country, and of course that cloud in turn affects temperatures. Here they're pegged way back to 15 or 59 in Fahrenheit. Add on the breeze, feeling a touch chillier. West sees the very best of the temperatures once again, a high of around about 23, 24, or if you prefer that in Fahrenheit, that's the mid-70s. So all in all, not too bad a day tomorrow. Here's our weather summary. Good night.
Sponsored by PowerGen, producing electricity, whatever the weather.